Welcome back to Wrestling World. With today's wrestling news, we'll be taking a look at this new viral individual that's being referred to as Brock Lesnar's twin, why Paige is getting the police involved with a WWE fan, and more. Before we get into the news, make sure to subscribe with all notifications on if you're new, and drop a like below to help us out. We always appreciate all your support. Let's start things off with this Brock Lesnar twin situation because this is quite interesting. This individual that everyone is calling Brock Lesnar's twin is football player Parker Boudreaux. Parker Boudreaux is 22 years old and has become a viral online sensation, not only because of his talent on the football field and also his physique, but also because of his identical resemblance to WWE superstar Brock Lesnar. Not only does Parker share the same looks as Brock Lesnar, Parker also refers to himself as the next big thing, which was obviously Brock Lesnar's nickname when he was just around the same age as Parker. To make speculation get even more intense, Paul Heyman even responded to Parker's tweet about 2021 being something special. Heyman had this to say. His tweet is not a prediction, it's a spoiler. Save this hustle tweet for future historical reference. At Parker Boudreaux. So Paul Heyman's tweet didn't tell us much and was very vague, but you can sort of get the idea that Heyman was hinting it. Paul Heyman wants everyone to save that tweet because it's going to be important for future historical reference. So, does that mean that WWE is interested and going to try their best to sign him to a deal with WWE? It's absolutely a possibility for sure. Parker is a huge Brock Lesnar fan. He even has several Photoshop images of them side by side on his social medias. So he has acknowledged the resemblance and he's a fan. And with WWE, you know how they are. They love individuals like this, especially if Paul Heyman is behind him as well. You never know if Parker could have a future in WWE. But that little interaction there between Parker and Paul Heyman was very interesting. We'll see if we ever come back to this tweet by them for historical reference, like Paul Heyman said. Do you think Parker would make a great WWE superstar? Paige gets police involved with a scary fan situation. Paige and her boyfriend Ronnie were just involved with a scary stalker situation a few months ago that was pretty terrifying. Well, now they're dealing with another scary situation with a fan. Apparently, a fan was going around trying to sell Paige's personal information and other things of that sort to other fans. One fan screenshotted the messages from the stalker fan, and it somehow found its way to Paige and Ronnie. Apparently, Ronnie had a conversation with the stalker fan that was trying to sell the information, but the fan was playing dumb as if it wasn't him and was a fake photoshopped message. Ronnie noted to the fan that the police were involved and that he was in big trouble. Paige also responded to the entire messy situation and had this to say on Twitter. You realize how disgusting this is? You literally try to get money for our address? You are a terrible person. The cops are involved. A report was put in your name. Numerous people came forward about you with DMs. You changed your Twitter name after being called out. I hate that. That had to be my first tweet of 2021. Second tweet, this year will be better. So another reveal there by Paige. It looks like this stalker was messaging a lot of fans about buying the information. And a lot of those same fans let Paige and Ronnie know about what was going on. Paige also claims that the fan has changed his name and username several times after being called out, but that it's too late and that the police are already involved. So just another extremely scary situation for Paige and Ronnie, but thankfully, they caught it in time and hopefully this entire situation is handled properly by the proper law enforcement. In other news, as many expected, the Money in the Bank contract has returned and is back with The Miz. Like we mentioned with the last Money in the Bank update, this was probably one of the worst years for the Money in the Bank contract that we've ever seen. Otis winning was controversial to begin with because he never climbed the ladder and unhooked the Money in the Bank contract. It just fell into his hands. So it was off to a questionable start right off the bat. Then it was revealed that WWE had no plans for Otis as Mr. Money in the Bank, which made fans sit back and think, okay, then why did you have him win the match? Anyway, the contract was then placed on The Miz, which led to the failed cash-in at WWE TLC, We all thought, okay, maybe that was WWE's way of just getting rid of the Money in the Bank contract. But like we just saw on Raw, The Miz got the Money in the Bank contract back. Credit to WWE because technically it is something new that we've never seen before with the Money in the Bank contract. We've never seen a WWE superstar get the Money in the Bank contract back after a failed cash-in. So technically it was something new, but you still can't help but question what was the point of the failed cash-in at WWE TLC. It didn't really do anything for the characters or the storyline. So what was the purpose and goal of this failed cash-in? What did it accomplish? And I can't think of anything besides maybe just wanting to fool the fans out. That seems like the only reasonable explanation. However, now that the Money in the Bank contract is back, WWE still has the same issue. And that's the question of, what do you do with the contract now? Time is flying by. The 20 and 21 Money in the Bank show will be here in just a matter of months, so time is running out for the 2020 contract. They have to figure out what they're going to do with it real soon. Just by watching Raw, you get the sense that they have no idea what they want to do with the Money in the Bank contract. So that's a bit concerning. But we'll have to see what happens. Does The Miz have a successful cash-in this time around and become WWE champion, or will he still have a failed cash-in? Another massive letdown of a storyline is everything going on with Retribution and Ricochet. Although it seemed interesting at the start of the story for Retribution to add another main roster superstar to the faction, now has started to become repetitive and an absolute mess to follow. It seemed like it was going well. It seemed like Retribution was slowly starting to break Ricochet. Ricochet even admitted that he was entertaining the thought of joining Retribution. He had a one-on-one match with Ali this past week on Raw, and we all thought this would be the big climax moment of the story for Ricochet to finally join them, but it wasn't. Ricochet revealed that he was only lying about wanting to join them and said that he'll never join Retribution. The reason why this is so repetitive is because we've already seen Ricochet say that he'll never join Retribution like 3 times already. So why is the story continuing? Another little plot hole you can wonder about is why Retribution is so intensely focused on getting Ricochet to join them. Retribution is supposed to be on this big mission to destroy WWE, but all they want to do nowadays is waste all their time and attention on one man that turned them down 1,000 times already. So when is it time for them to move on from recruiting Ricochet if he's not going to join? If WWE is going to continue this storyline and drag it out this much, this only means that it has to end with Ricochet joining Retribution. It'll be even more useless to have this long storyline and Ricochet doesn't even end up joining them in the end. That's when you have to start questioning the purpose of this entire storyline. But what are your thoughts on all of today's wrestling news and rumors? Leave your comments below. Don't forget to subscribe with all notifications on and leave a like if you enjoyed. Thanks for watching, guys.